Hi, I'm Sue Polgar. I took my focus on membership work to General Assembly, but I have come back with a vision of membership as a spiritual practice of welcoming. At Mount Diablo UU Church, we have a reputation as a very welcoming community. We've worked hard to avoid the epithet of God's frozen people. Yet we have many opportunities to become the community that welcomes again and again. For the first-time folks who bravely come into our doors each Sunday, we are all part of the welcoming committee. Yes, the greeters table provides the initial focus, but ideally, those new to MDUUC will be greeted with smiles and words of welcome at least twice before they get to that table, and at least twice more before they walk or roll into the sanctuary. Ditto goes for the coffee hour and for welcoming a first-timer to a community supper or to book group. Clearly, the sacred realm of hospitality, as one speaker described the church's goal, is within all of us, not just in a committee committed to the formal pathway of welcoming and guiding newcomers. Welcoming is an ongoing process, or better yet, an ongoing practice that invites both new and existing members to pause and reflect. The questions that arise are important. What brought you here? What has nourished you? Have your needs changed? At GA, I heard practical ideas about rethinking our classes for newcomers on their path to membership, about language of engaging newcomers, about connecting with youth, about training greeters, and about opening pathways to engagement and ultimately to leadership in our church. I hope you'll join me in this exciting opportunity of recognizing the deep meaning and celebration in the spiritual practice of welcoming and hospitality.
It is an honor this morning to deliver these words from Arliss Unger this morning. No, I'm not she. She's away. But I have long admired her work for Star King School and for our Unitarian Universalist International Partnerships. Here's what she wrote about her experience at this year's General Assembly. I especially enjoyed the international events at GA. At the worship service sponsored by the Partner Church Council, entitled, Where You Go, I Will Go, celebrating international partnership, we heard words from the Assistant Bishop of the Hungarian Unitarian Church. Yes, they have a bishop, she writes. And from the Executive Director of the Philippine Unitarian Universalist Church, which came to Unitarian Universalism through the Universalist branch of our religion. And from the Unitarian Executive Director of a desperately needed Unitarian orphanage in the Khasi Hills of India, whose Indian mother was adopted by a British woman who came to India to help Gandhi. We also heard from a minister from Prague in the Czech Republic and from a man from Kenya. All of these people from all around the world are working to bring their and our Unitarian and Unitarian Universalist principles to life. Together, they said, we can do what we cannot do alone. I attended a luncheon, a fine meal, Arliss writes, and the annual meeting of the Partner Church Council, which works to build bridges between UU congregations in the U.S. and those in Transylvania, the Philippines, and many other countries. I was given an award, Arliss says, for the work that I do for the Balish Scholars Program that brings an international Unitarian minister, usually from Transylvania, to study at Star King School each year and to preach throughout the area, including here at Mount Diablo. There was a lovely citation, and here it is. professionally matted and framed. It was, alas, too big to fit in my suitcase to take on the plane home. So Sue and Les Polgar, who are returning by train, came to my rescue and will bring the citation to me. Well, wouldn't you know it, luck would have it, they had it with them in their car this morning. And so here it is. If you would like to take a look at the words here, it's quite beautiful. I'll just leave it right here in front of the pulpit and you can take a look at it after the service. Heartland, where faiths connect, was the theme of the General Assembly. The international community is working daily to build bridges to connect faiths. Those are the words from Arliss Unger, and may I take just another moment more to add my own deep gratitude for all that I know that Arliss has done so devotedly for Unitarian Universalism over the years, and to share with you my own great excitement about my forthcoming pilgrimage at the end of July back to Transylvania, Unitarian historic homeland, with a small group of USUUs, mostly clergy. And there, among other purposes, we will be honoring all of the Balish scholars, 20 years of them. Perhaps in some appropriate way, I'll be able to share that pilgrimage experience with you later.
Good morning, I'm Les Polgar. I need to share with you that for a Michigan Wolverine to go to Columbus, Ohio, the lair, this was not easy. For me, General Assembly is always a time to reconnect with leaders of our UU movement and with other congregations. Through these reconnections, I was reminded of sustaining ideals of our faith. And I also learned about matters that we might rethink. The best reminder was from a new publication from UU World titled, "The Journey is the Joy." We will get copies and make them available at our umbrella table over the coming weeks. In this issue, which is a special one, seeker number 1, the Reverend Dr. Galen Gungerich, Senior Minister of All Souls in New York City, has an article titled, 10 Things I Wish People Knew About Unitarian Universalism. And I thought I knew all about it, but I didn't. And this article is especially timely because the first of those 10 things is that Unitarians played a pivotal role in the founding of our country, whose 240th birthday we celebrate tomorrow. Another is that our UU theological identity is gratitude. As Galen says, gratitude is our recognition of how we are connected to everyone and everything. And that got me to attend several workshops and meetings about making gratitude real, about stewardship and money. As Yvonne says, it takes money, honey. From Harlan Limpert, Chief Operating Officer of the Unitarian Universalist Association, I learned that the adult religious education program about generosity, which is called OWL, Our Whole Lives, but it's for money, not for sex, has gotten a significant new boost in attendance and interest among our congregations. We will offer this course again sometime in the coming 12 months, maybe more than once. And from Reverend Mary Catherine Morn of the UUA National Office, we learned about a new $5 million challenge grant from our Shelter Rock congregation in Long Island through their Veach Foundation. This will benefit the association, our 2 theological schools, Star King here in Berkeley and Meadville Lombard in Chicago, and individual congregations. And I attended 2 workshops led by the Reverend Marlon Lavenhar, who is the senior minister at Tulsa's All Souls, our largest brick and mortar congregation anywhere. We discussed new ways to fund our annual programs at both congregational and national levels. and in an era where younger generations seem to favor contributing to missions rather than to institutions, this was especially helpful. So for me, General Assembly was all about gratitude and recognition, and despite the scarlet and gray, this maize and blue boy had a wonderful time.
Hi, I'm Meg Richardson, and in addition to serving as your delegate at General Assembly, I also teach at Star King, and I was teaching at General Assembly. I was teaching polity, like Robert's Rules and bylaws, and so my takeaway is sort of ironic, and my big takeaway from General Assembly was that UUs are educated, but what we need is wisdom. Now, that being said, I prepared a crash course for you in the polity of General Assembly. With apologies to anyone ever associated with the Broadway musical Hair, here it is. CSW took the CSAI to CMHUUAGA. When we got there, what did we see? Why, a youth caucus and an SOC. You're way behind.
A lot of acronyms in this tonight.
I'll sing that again. CSW took the CSAI to CMHUUAGA. When we got there, what did we see? Why, a youth caucus and an SOC. Okay. BLUUAIW, C by law, APF, UUSC, AIM, SKSM, SLT, NOLAUUAGA 2017.
LOL, Meg. I sat next to Reverend Meg during one of the general sessions, and it was just going on and on and on. And so my mantra was, call the question, call the question, call the question. This was my first GA, and it blew my mind. You could, from the snippet of God as a verb that you folks saw, you can kind of get an idea of how deep and thrilling General Assembly is. One of the things that really thrilled me about General Assembly was watching Ranwa in action. She's such a powerful leader. And I snuck out of a seminar on stewardship to see her panel on women, and to hear her eloquence about the struggles of women in leadership really touched my heart. And I think that we're so lucky to be ordaining her on December 11th. Everybody save the date. It was wonderful to see her get preliminary fellowship in the service on the living tradition. So, yes. Most of what I focused on at GA was stewardship, and less touched on some of the things that are really important and are coming up in our denomination. I'd like to let this congregation know that we're doing a lot of things right in stewardship. A lot of the practices that I heard are things that we do already, like small group visits or one-on-one visits for our stewardship campaign. There's an interesting concept out there that some East Coast congregations are putting into practice called year-round stewardship, and it's the congregation is broken into fractions, and each month a segment of the congregation renews their pledge, and so it's an ongoing conversation about stewardship, which is an intriguing thing that we can look at, especially since we're in the blue sky aspect of Make It So. We'll be looking at things like that. Other things were around stewardship. In worship at GA, we had the opportunity to text our offering, which is just beep, beep, beep on your iPhone, and by the time the offering is done, you have a confirmation by email that you've pledged. We could do that. Very easy. And other things, less touched on the grant program. There's a lot of money out there for grants for projects that might work for us in the areas of social justice or LEAP, or who knows, the sky's the limit. Actually, $20,000 a year is the limit, but that's still pretty sweet money. I heard about new tools like Faithify, which is crowdfunding for projects within religious traditions. And there are different applications out there and software that help people raise money. So while it wasn't ministry and from the heart stuff that I focused on, I came away with a really renewed enthusiasm for making this church and our denomination really vibrant through stewardship. Thanks.
Buzz, buzz, buzz. It's 4:45 a.m. as the alarm goes off for the third time, and I know I have to get up now if I want to get to the magical elixir of life. So I silence my alarm and I stagger to my coffee pot. Thus refreshed, I open my computer and I log on to the website and find my community already trickling in. I have left home and gone to GA. I guess I should explain. I was an off-site delegate. I participated in GA from here. I watched it as a streaming video, was able to participate in all the discussions, and voted. But most important for me was the chat window. When you go to GA, you meet a lot of people, but you tend to make really deep connections with the other people from MDUUC who have also attended. In fact, you spend more time with them than you would in a year of Sundays. My community this year was the chat room. There were about 50 of us. I got to know the woman who said she was missing GA this year because her husband was in hospice. I got to know the brand new DRE working on getting their certification slowly because they has young children. I got to know the man who has strong ties to his Jewish heritage and a huge heart. We were rich, poor, white, people of color, fully abled, disabled, cisgendered, transgendered, straight, allies, LGBTQ, and other labels, none of which stood out in our little world. Each of the matters that came up during GA, the discussion of the divestment relating to Israel and Palestine, the actions of immediate witness, reconsidering Thanksgiving, and so many others, we got to hear from a wide variety of voices about why each item mattered. We were willing to speak, to disagree, to be wrong. We were willing to hear each other. In the end, this community ended up being one of the strongest communities I have ever formed during a General Assembly. Now, given the option, I would rather attend GA in person, as I have 3 times in the past, dragging my family along like I'm hoping to do next year to New Orleans. Let me know if you want to go too, we'll talk. But the next time Reverend Leslie asks me to be an off-site delegate, I will happily say yes, even if it is East Coast time, and I do hate the sound of the alarm at 4:45 a.m.